Good evening, good morning, or even good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the area of Palmdale or any surrounding areas, and whatever time that you're watching this. Jeff and I from First Response Pest Control have got a great guide for you today. We're going to jump in, answer questions that we get all the time to give you a guide on what to look out for in various pests. And today we're going to be jumping into ants because, Jeff, as we were rightfully speaking, you're inundated and the weather has been crazy. Am I right?
Oh, yes. This heat wave, a lot of ant activity, a lot of people talking about ants.
All right, so let's jump straight into this, Jeff, and give the good folks answer the questions that they always come. So, first question we got is, what type of ants are in the area? What type of ants are invading in the area?
Well, the most prominent would be the Argentines. We're seeing a lot of those invading homes. Outdoors, we are finding some fire ants, and you want to be careful with those because they do sting. Especially in the rural areas where there's a lot of dirt, you step on one of those mounds, and that can be a painful experience.
And let's not forget, Jeff, it could be an expensive experience.
It definitely can. Yes, you could end up going to the doctor, for an unexpected visit, or the ER, because those stings are pretty painful.
Or the vet.
Or the vet, yeah. Oh, for your pets, yes, absolutely.
Very expensive. Very expensive. Okay, so how do ants get into the home?
So, that's a question we get asked a lot, and I'm glad you asked that. What we find is, there's a lot of different ways. I mean, we've seen, a lot of things out there. So we've seen them use a tree if there's a branch touching the house. And let's say we've treated the lower perimeter. They use the tree as a ladder and then just climb up the wall, come in from up above. That's one way, and it's been seen in a lot of places. But they have a unique ability to tunnel under. All of our surface level measures outside, and when it's hot like this, sometimes they dig their tunnels over to the cooler soil, which often is under the foundation. So now they're in the soil under the foundation. Well, everybody's plumbing pipes are buried in that soil under the foundation and underground, and then travel up through the foundation and throughout the walls of the house. So once they've tracked along those pipes, they're in virtually the entire house.
And Jeff, here's another question that is really important because we're talking about them getting in, and so the other question I've got from one of the people that have contacted us is there any damage that ants can do? I mean, we know about carpenter ants do damage, but what damage can ants do to my home?
So I'm glad you asked that as well. So the non-stinging ants, of course, cause a lot of folks to throw things away. They get into some food item. And now you've got folks that have cleared their whole pantry out, and groceries are not getting any cheaper. So that can be costly. The other thing is some folks just have such an aversion to ants that they'll go out and they'll buy all kinds of products, cleaning products, and they'll drive themselves literally bonkers trying to just clean them away. I have one, instance where somebody did a lot of caulking. They tried to find every little 1 millimeter opening they could and put caulking in it. And, average house may have 9 to 1100 of those little tiny 1 millimeter gaps. But I mean, literally, I went there and I was actually rather impressed. But every wall outlet faceplate was caulked.
And Jeff, we've spoke many times before about the fact that ants split off in colonies. And one of the other questions that came in is that I have ants. We get rid of ants, but they come back again. So let's explain why they come back again.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that. A lot of folks do. They stop the flow of ants and everything's good. They figure, okay, we've addressed this. What they're really not seeing is that there's an entire colony, and all they visibly saw were some workers, which incidentally are expendable. And so if they make it home and they bring home, some goodies for the rest of the colony, they're heroes. If they don't make it home, well, they're still heroes. They fought valiantly. They just didn't make it home. But the colony survives. And so now the next group is up, and, a couple days go by and you see a bunch more ants and you think, I've already addressed these ants. Well, you didn't wipe out the whole colony, and that's the problem.
And I guess that's the same problem with people that are caulking everything and blocking the entryways. They're not actually killing off the nest, and it
That's
just
right.
goes and it splits off, and it's actually it's like the horse is bolted kind of thing. That's.
And
So here's a
occasionally with
great
those pharaoh ants, we really want to make sure they don't bud because that's one of their
yes.
defenses.
And so here's another great question that came in is um how can I enter? How can they identify? How can the homeowner identify uh, a severe infestation as opposed to a smaller infestation?
That's a good question. And, I've had people say I must be very badly infested with ants. And we get there and they visibly saw a lot of worker ants. Maybe there was something in the trash can. Maybe the pet food bowl just, triggered a whole, you know, super highway of ants, so to speak. And there were thousands of them. And so they think, oh, the infestation must be huge. And they turned out to be small infestations. Maybe that was all just the work of one colony. And then we've had a couple of people where they've had an ongoing issue where we've done some work. We've successfully ran baiting campaigns, but the ants are very very persistent.
Yeah.
And in those cases, we realize the case is multiple colonies or one large super colony we're dealing with here. And we may have to run several baiting campaigns. And so, people say, can we do this as a one off? I say, with ants, it could be a roll of the dice. And really time tells all. And
Yeah.
so, sometimes you do one and done and you're lucky enough, you're good. But when somebody calls and they say they have ants, I always recommend, you should probably go on an ongoing maintenance program, if for nothing
Yeah.
else, for the peace of mind, because those ants are very persistent.
And also just as a little knowledge thing for people out there is that you mentioned a great thing is that the super colonies now. Um, a lot of folks out there might not know this, but in the area that we're in, there's the biggest Argentine super colony in the globe.
In the whole globe, right? Yeah, our state
It,
is host
your
because of
state,
the
it
climate.
spans. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's hundreds of miles. The super colony. So
Oh yes.
this is why you need regular pest control because you're in an area where the biggest super colony of ants, Argentine ants, and go and read the articles we've done on Argentine ants because they're very intelligent and it's again that's not the point of this, but it's something to really keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen.
I hear often, this whole city must have been built on an anthill, and I go, well, yeah,
Pretty
kinda.
much. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you got that one right. Um,
Yeah.
well, here's another great question, and this is a lot of people want to know: is there any other? I mean, we know that fire ants can cause us health concerns because they sting,
Yes.
but people want to know what are the other health concerns of ants?
So, it's a good question. There, of course, any different type of species that can sting. So it's not just the fire ants that can, get you with a sting. Some smaller ants also can sting you as well. And, you just have to know which ants are which. So when we're out there in the field, we know, it's our job to know, what is going to work, on this ant species versus that ant species. But yeah, some of the carpenter ants out there
Yeah.
can do a lot of damage, of course, to wood.
Oh yes,
And then, off the top of my head, I haven't really run across too much that have done much in the way of structural damage. But the stinging ants have been a real major concern. We
yes.
come across those more often in this region.
Yes, and carpenter ants
Yeah.
can bite you if you annoy them because I've had one, and it just
Oh, yes.
it's so. But
Yeah.
also as
They'll
well,
get you.
ladies and gentlemen, just to know, as ants, you there's bacteria that can get pulled in from ants. Now, whilst they're not like cockroaches and everything else, they can also spread bacteria. So especially if you've got ants, sugar ants, pharaoh ants in the kitchen, um, you're also looking at the
Yeah.
potential of bacteria, salmonella being spread as well. So
Hadn't
just
thought
be
about
aware of
that, but
that.
you're right. Cross contamination is a big
Cross
concern,
contamination,
especially in
absolutely.
commercial establishments.
Absolutely. And I think that's actually and here's the thing which is really important, Jeff, and we've talked about this before, is there's many commercial businesses out there think, okay, cockroaches and rats, right? And they don't
Mhm.
think of the ant they don't think of the ant problem, right? They think, well, it's
Right.
just ants, I just put a bit of it and it's gone. But they don't realize that there is cross contamination. And if they see an infestation in ants, that's just as big a problem that should be addressed as rat infestation or cockroach infestation.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's true. The common mindset, especially for our region, and as often as people see the ants, is oh, it's just ants, and it's a more common occurrence than a rat infestation or roach infestation. So
Yeah.
they kind of just get, oh, it's just ants. We can okay, well at least it's not roaches or rats, and it's but you're right, it is just as big a concern. As a matter of fact, we just had it for the first time in years at a restaurant recently,
Wow.
where ants got in and they were surprised. They said, oh man, I'm so glad you guys showed up today because we just saw these guys. And I said, oh, looks like the ants are getting it. And sure enough, coming out of a small opening in the wall, there were these ants and they were trailing down to the dishwashing area. I said, you know what? It's great we were here and we can catch it now and we can take care of it. We can nip this in the bud. And so that's what we did, combination of bait and treatment that we were doing the regular treatment anyway. So, I said, but
Yeah.
hey, now you don't have to worry anymore.
That's the thing. This is peace of mind so that you can grow or you can go on with the business. Or of
Exactly.
course, if it's in your home, you don't need to worry. You can deal with this. So that leads us on to another great question from a homeowner.
Yes.
Is there anything they can do? What tips can you give a homeowner to repel ants or to not get ants infesting their home?
Great question. So I've seen some amazing tricks over the years, and a lot of it has actually come from clients I've dealt with. And then, of course, doing a little research on my own, came
Yeah.
up with a few as well. Some of the best tactics I've seen deployed to kind of help keep ants out of your home, uh, you know, all your foodstuffs, your dry goods that you store in the pantry, if you have them in
Yep.
sealed containers. And
Yes.
that's the key, really. It's got to be in a sealed container. Not only does it last longer and it doesn't go stale very quickly, but it keeps the ants from getting into it. So that's a big one. Another big trick I've seen that really works amazing, pet food. Everybody's got pets and they got to set down the dog bowl, the cat bowl. And you and I both know how much ants love that pet food. They go bonkers for
Absolutely.
it. So, but what a lot of folks don't know is that the ants can't, they don't swim very well. So they're great at climbing up everything and they can carry, so much weight compared to their own weight, but they don't
Yeah.
swim well. So if you set that pet bowl in a larger container, even just a flat pan that has some sides to it and it's filled with water, the ants won't get into that pet food. Those are two tricks right off the bat that helps a lot. And then another trick, I've told a few clients, I say, instead of spraying them with a bleach cleaner or vinegar cleaner or hitting them with a can of Raid when you see them, try setting down even an over-the-counter bait if you can find a liquid bait, a bait gel,
Yep.
and then call us because now you've already got the ants in bait mode, and that's a
Yes.
beautiful thing because now they're already used to taking bait. We can come with our bait and do our magic, so to speak, and
Yeah.
really help kind of move it along. And I always say it's kind of the smorgasbord approach, and it works.
I love that.
Yeah, if you like this, hey, here's some of this, and we always say it. We don't care which baits the ants take, as long as they take the bait back to their colony. Either or is fine with us because we're still getting the end result is that colony's getting wiped out. So
Yeah.
I always
That.
tell folks, bait, pre-bait, call us. Of course, you got us on, speed dial basically, and that's a good thing. You can say, hey, listen, the ants showed up in my house. I placed a bait. They went for the bait. Just wanted to give you
Yep.
guys the heads up. And we'll be here all day tomorrow. Perfect. We're going to come in. We're going to help with moving this along, expediting the process.
That's awesome. And also, I would add, ladies and gentlemen, as well, is that for all you out there, the gardens are beautiful. Absolutely. But if you're
Yeah,
going to have plants right next to your home, right next to your wall, your stucco, or anything like that, make sure you keep it away from because if you don't trim, if you don't keep on top of these things, you give access by tree branches getting maybe close to the home or anything else that's touching it. Never have ivy climbing up your as
that's
beautiful as
right.
it can be. Never have ivy there because you're just inviting all sorts of pests. So make sure you take the garden into consideration when you're doing this as well.
Absolutely. I mean, some landscapes are breathtaking, like you said, but again, you want it off the building because it just
Yeah.
invites too many things. not just the ants like you mentioned, but those harborages they can really work against you. I've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it before, and it really does. It looks classy when they've got the crawling vine all over the wall of the house, and you say, "Wow, how unique!" But
Yeah.
then, from our standpoint as pest control guys, we go, "Oh, that's going to be a nightmare down the line. There's going to be so many critters they don't want."
It's when you look at it and you're like, oh, isn't that beautiful? And you go, well, yeah, go
Yep.
up close and then look at it with our eyes, and then you'll see something different.
That's right. Exactly. And it's so funny how we've trained ourselves to think in certain
I know.
terms because we can see that and somebody else's, perception is, wow, that's beautiful. And we go,
Yeah.
oh man, I don't even want to know what's living behind that cover.
Another question here that's coming as well is, Jeff, is there any non-toxic type or any kind of natural treatments, not treatments as such, that you could say to a homeowner, look, until we get there, put this down, let's destroy the scent. What is there anything that's kind of holistic or natural, or that maybe someone who's out there that really doesn't want to put anything bleached down or anything like that, or what would you suggest?
If they definitely don't want to use the bait, there's a few things that we've already actually outlined on the website, which are great, that work wonderfully. And they're items you could have around the house, essential oils. A lot of folks have those in their diffusers. Those can help big time. Cinnamon can help. I've had people, who have said, cinnamon's great. And I've had other people who say, nah, that didn't seem to phase them at all, but it's worth a shot. But cinnamon essential oil, as along with tea tree oils, other types of essential oils, have been very effective at kind of curtailing them or keeping them back.
And that's just until a professional like yourself can get there and actually take it and get it and deal with it properly, and that's
with a nice
the
prescriptive
difference.
treatment.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't want to. They're frightened of spraying pesticides and things like that, and they don't understand
and understandably,
it. And so,
I mean, some of those products, you really got to be careful where you apply it or how much you're exposed to it.
So here's another thing: is professional pest control necessary? This is. I love this question, Jeff, because it's there's only so much you can do with DIY stuff. So let's go into that, because that's it. Is it why should I have professional pest control? Well, we've kind of answered it, but go in a bit deeper.
Right. And it's funny because of course people expect, guys like yourself and me to be biased and always answer, well, yeah, it's definitely something I wouldn't want to go without. And part of that's because we've seen what happens with versus without. And so, it's just better to have it than not have it. And we know this, but honestly, I would say, yeah, professional pest control is necessary. And in some cases, it's a requirement. I mean, if you're running a restaurant, and I've had people say, we need pest control. Well, how long have you been in business? 5 years. Have you had pest control? Now, we've winged it the last 5 years. And I said, well, you've really dodged some bullets. I said, but and I know that all it's going to take, is one bad visit from a health inspector.
It is. It's a smoking gun.
It's a smoking gun. Yeah. You don't have a pest control service. Oh, and what is this? It's a chocolate sprinkle. Sure it is. But it's one of those types of things that happens, more often than people realize. And, but yeah, for your home as well, for the peace of mind. And, some people realize it after they've tried everything and it's just not working. That, having a professional come in and do a professional service makes a big difference. Now, we're not, going to be able to guarantee 100% that everything's going to go a certain way, but we know kind of how something may go, and we can take our best educated guess. And that's part of the reason we're on call as well, because, we know something could happen at any given point. And, that's when we always ask people, hey, use that number we left you. Send us a text, call us, let us know. You're our eyes and ears. You live there. So we wouldn't know there's a problem until you alert us. But once you've alerted us, okay, now let's work a game plan. What's going on? We're going to ask questions. Where are you seeing them? What happened? When did you start? When did this start? All that fun stuff. And then we're going to put together a game plan. How do we get things back to good and, regain control over the situation and get you back on track. But, to be able to just have somebody on speed dial as opposed to going, oh, great, I've got this thing to deal with. Now you're doing research, you're trying it. But that's where all those those years of experience, all the training we undergo, all of the updates we get, because things change all the time in our industry. I mean, very rapidly we come across changes
Massively.
every year, massive changes, and we go, oh wow, or a new product drops and we go, hey, wait a minute, how does this work? Oh, big time game changer. This is going to work great, and we can get people on board with this.
I love that, and that kind of brings me on to one of our kind of last and final questions, because this is great before we jump into tidying everything off for everybody. And this is it's not a hard question to answer, but how long's a piece of string? So the last question we got is, how long would it be before someone, either, and let's take it business and also residential, could start to see results if they had an infestation?
So if you've got an infestation, and it's an active infestation, and we're coming in cold, and I'm glad you asked that, because a lot of folks, I think, sometimes they expect an overnight, like a switch flip. And so one of the things we do try to do is kind of break it down to them on that first visit. Once we've really assessed the situation, what the reasonable expectations should be. And that's for two reasons. We know that sometimes we can get pretty immediate results on some situations, and then we can confidently say, so hey, by tomorrow things are going to be greatly improved. By the next day you should be back to good. But then there's other situations where we tell them, okay, here's what to expect over the first couple weeks, here's what to expect going after that. If it deviates from that, please let us know, because this is the way it should trend based on the treatment
Yes.
we've applied. If it's not, now we may have to, change up, go plan B, go plan C, even. It just depends on what the situation calls for. And that's what I always try to explain to people. Just like when your doctor prescribes you a
Yeah.
medicine, and, a couple weeks in, you're not feeling well, that doctor expects you to give them the call, because the medicine's not working as it's intended.
Yes.
And so our treatments are also a prescriptive treatment. And that's what I, try to instill to everybody that I talk to out there
Yes.
in the field. It's a prescriptive treatment, and it should go a certain way. So, you being our eyes and ears, we rely on you. Let us know if it doesn't go the way it's supposed to. We may have to change the prescription, just like, the doctor would with medicine.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Absolutely, Jeff. And the other thing is, ladies and gentlemen, is to realize that dependent on the species, I mean, if you're
Yes.
dealing with a severe Argentine ant infestation, they work within other ants. They infest other. They're massive. They split off, and they're very resilient. And so
Very.
that takes a bit of strategy. So this is what leads me on. This is great. So this is a great final thing. Is let's talk, Jeff, a little bit about expectations, because some people have reasonable expectations, and other
Correct.
people have expectations that are just way out there, and just it's not going to happen. So let's talk about people's
Right.
expectations, whether on business or residential.
Right. Yeah. Whether either or, we run into it. But yeah, that is something I think it's become a very vital piece to what we do, is really addressing expectations and really setting expectations,
Yes.
at the right level. So, people sometimes, I think, come with preconceptions, and I think we all do on different things, but, and some are open to hearing what an expert who's got experience in the field, who does the work, has to say about what's going on. And other people, oh, this isn't my first rodeo, I already know. Well, what you might know from 20 years ago. 20 years
Yeah.
ago, we drilled a bunch of holes in your wall. We injected an insecticide dust. We didn't have baits to work with for the ants
No.
20 years ago. So, we were kind of stuck with certain, techniques or tactics.
Yes.
And sure, there was some immediate results, but now you have all these holes in your wall you got to spackle. We're trying to avoid that these days. So we can go, a little less invasive, but it's a trade-off, and like many things. And I tell people, okay, you're starting off with an ant problem. We may want to use a product, such as Termidor around the outside. Termidor
Yes.
doesn't have a very fast knockdown, and you don't want it to. And the reason you don't want it to is you want these social insects to transfer that product into their colony nests. You got to give them
Massively.
time to do that.
Love Thermidor.
Oh, I love it. It's a wonderful
Big
product.
shout
I
out to
mean,
Thermidor if you're listening.
yeah, huge, plus for our industry. Whenever it dropped and we got out there and started working with ants, I remember, and I'm sure you do too, it seems
Yeah.
so counterintuitive. You spray a whole trail and they're still walking, and you're like, wow. But then you go back, 24 hours later, the ants are gone.
Yeah.
and you go, okay, it worked.
And I think the customer, if you're out there and we've been there, and Jeff and the team is actually treated, and you're actually still seeing signs of it, just realize that it might take a little bit of time. So
Yes.
don't phone up with being angry and thinking it's not working. It is working, but
Right.
you must remember, ladies and gentlemen, ants are
Yes.
very, very intelligent, and when you've got one colony, you can
See,
have another 10 colonies that are split off from them. And
that's right.
so this is why you might see it. You kill off one colony, another one's there. This is why you can't just have a one and done solution in pest control, especially
Right.
living in the area you live. Pests need, like we need shelter, we need food, we need water, we need warmth.
Right.
We need these things for survival. That's what they need. And you've got it in abundance in the area. And so have your expectations in check. Just realize that you're in an area that has got the biggest ant issue in the whole of America, really. It's
That's
got the
correct.
biggest super colony. This is why you need a regular program to keep it at bay, and especially if you're in business. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, commercial accounts. Whenever I come across commercial accounts that don't have pest control, I always ask, the first question I
it's a
ask is,
nightmare.
why not? I said, you need
Exactly.
it more than anyone. You're running a business here, and they say, oh, well, we figured we'd get it later if it became an issue. Well, with pests, it always will. It's just a matter of when it'll become an issue. So,
It's a smoking
never
gun,
if.
as we said.
Yeah. And like you said, given our area, I mean, it's just a ticking time bomb. So, it's better to have that mitigation going on a regular basis. And that's the thing. I think a lot of our regular clients, if we get a long enough run where nothing has happened, I think maybe get a little bit complacent to the point where they think, well, I'm good.
Absolutely.
And then when something
Absolutely.
does flare up, they almost kind of get mad and, frustrated. And it's like, well, no, you got to look at it in terms of how long of a run
Yep.
did we have? But that's okay because we have solutions for the problem. Just let us know there's a problem. Maybe not by calling and yelling or being irate, but call us and let
Yeah.
us know. Hey, we had a nice long run. Hadn't had any ants in the house in 3 years. But hey, listen, today they decided to show up again. Okay, all right. Well, we had a good 3 year run. And now we're going to address these guys, and we're going to go ahead and get them out of your house because they don't belong there. We need to get
Yeah.
the message across that hey, it's eviction day. But hey,
Absolutely.
we made it 3 years. That's pretty decent run, especially for our area.
And think, ladies and gentlemen, that's absolutely awesome to actually have that
Right.
run. And if it happens again, here's the thing: Jeff is
Yes.
there. He's there to help you. Don't phone up
Right.
and think, it's not working. No, it is. But
Right.
they're intelligent. There's maybe another colony that started, and it just means that the team has to come back, lay down a new strategy, and deal with them, and get another 3 years run. So it's important that you keep it going. So Jeff, as we finish off this guide, which
Yes.
has been an awesome guide for people, tell
Yes.
them what they can do, the signs that they see, and what they should do contacting you now. What should be the protocol for them? What they from what they see to getting to you.
Right. So, I mean, if you're not, working with a service, of course, we're going to recommend us, because we're the best, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean,
Who
but
gives you a
also,
video guide anyway?
right. Of course, right? So, please contact first response. Absolutely. We're equipped for this. And if you are, a regular service client and you see something, I always say, see something, say something. The more information we have,
Yes.
the more
Yep.
effective we can be. So,
Absolutely.
with them being our eyes and ears at their home or at their business, they can we deputize them to, basically, clue us in, let us know what's happening and where it's happening, so that we can go ahead and say, make that determination. Hey, we're going to need, X amount of this, that, and the other. We're going to, oh, good, it's all on the truck. And we need somebody there to let us in. When's good? And then we coordinate scheduling. We get out there, we get it done. So, but that's the key is if it's, if you're seeing one or two scouts, it's going to happen. Especially when the weather gets extreme, right after a rain, right. And we get that, we just had today in our region, some thunderstorms and, it was 98
That brings it.
and the thunderstorms hit
Wow.
and it
Yeah.
went right back to being 98. So I imagine we're going to get a few calls where, hey, we found ants in the house. Well, how many? Oh, it was just one or two looking around. And I said, okay, well, if they organize into a trail, here's the protocol, maybe get some
Yep.
bait down, maybe, try this or that, but then let us know. And then we'll get in there. We'll try to get to the bottom of it, of course.
Yes.
But that's what I always tell people when you start noticing something, it's a good time to alert us. Just drop a text,
Yes.
and that's the friendliest, easiest thing that somebody can
Keep
do.
an eye on
Just
the
drop a
weather
text.
vane.
But
Keep
yeah,
an eye
that
on the
weather,
weather,
watch the
folks,
weather,
because
and it changes rapidly.
and it brings the rains come, the ants come, the heat comes, the ants.
Yes,
The change in the
yes,
variation of the weather is going to bring that all the time.
yeah.
Well,
Anytime the weather changes.
Jeff, this has been awesome. So give the guys
Yes.
the number, the website details
Oh,
to
perfect. So
contact
yeah,
us.
of course, the website firstresponsepc.com, and the phone number for the office 661-236-5534, and that number can get text and picture as well. So if you have a
Yep.
photo, you have a text, you call.
Yes.
Just reach out to us.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And if you need, go on the site as well. There's a form there. If you see something that's unusual, any pest doesn't need to be an ant. You want some
Yeah.
confirmation? Fill in the form, send it in. Ash will get it in the
Yep.
office. She will then task Jeff and the guys. We'll get it sorted with you. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Absolutely.
thank you for being with us. I hope this guide helps you. And again, we're just dealing with ants tonight. We're coming
That's right.
back. We're going to be dealing with another pest. These guides are here for you, so you
Absolutely.
understand how to deal with it, how to recognize, and then how to take action. That's the important thing. Awareness, take action. That's what we need. Jeff, it's been
All right.
awesome having you on, brother. And
Yes.
next one, we're going to be jumping into the next one. Who knows what we're going to do? It could be cockroaches, it could be rats, it could be spiders. Either way, we're going to be covering it all. So make sure you tune in the next time. God bless.